think that Wooly knows what his real voice sounds like.
I've never really known.
Yeah.
Since I was a baby, I came out doing voices.
That's it, guys. And Sam, the wonderful and talented Samantha Newark. Give it up for her, you guys. Love the holograms. Totally outrageous. So yeah, thank you guys for being here today. And I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this, I can already tell. And hopefully we can get some voices out there. We can hear some fun stuff, and we can talk about what it's like to be a voice actor. And it's a really neat career that I'm going to pretend I have, but I don't. But I can fake it pretty well, I think, with this stuff. And we're really. Where do you live? I live here in Orlando.
You were in the wrong place.
That's the thing. Yeah, I need to get out of there. But I used to do a. I live in Orlando, right here, right here locally. So I will say one thing about me though. I have 2 credits to my fame. One was a long time ago. I was the voice that said, "You're listening to Radio Disney." And that was a long time ago. And
you're the guy I wanted to beat up.
Yeah, you have to, right? It's better than we have a guy in this town. He does a car commercial. And his name is R.C. Hill. And every time his commercials come on, I have to change the station because I want to punch him in the face.
I love his soda though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, R.C. Hill. Yeah, R.C. Hill. Yeah, I got the reference. That's an older.
Ask somebody over 40.
Yeah, I was gonna say ask me for your younger. And my other, I wouldn't call it a claim to fame, was there was a radio station in Jacksonville, and we used to have something here called the American Idol Experience. And I voice doubled for Ryan Seacrest with them. I said something like, "You're listening to XL 1067." And they played it, and they gave me $50, and they're probably still playing it, and I should have asked for more money.
Should have added a few more zeros on there, baby. You need a better agent.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's just me, and I'm not anybody. And these two are really, really talented and accomplished voice
Yes,
actors.
clearly we're so popular that we filled the room with people here who can hear our voice.
The acoustics in there are really
I like to
nice.
think some of them are still sleeping it off.
They're lined up out the door to see us. That's how popular we are.
They're still out there.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Come in, please. Fill the
Oh my
seats.
goodness. Well, I'm glad you guys could join us so early on a Sunday morning. I know that there's a lot of places you could be, and you're here with us. So, Wally, I want to start with you for a minute, if you don't mind.
Oh, ladies first.
Oh, I love the chivalry. Very cool.
The chivalry is not dead.
It's not dead. It's not dead at all, is it?
I'm
Proper British gentleman always defers to a lady first.
Yes, indeed. Samantha, welcome to RangerStop.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so great to have you back here. I was so lucky I got to spend some time in Atlanta with her over the summer.
That was really fun.
It was
There
great,
that
yeah.
huge stage.
It was
we had like
totally
the
outrageous.
video screen
We
with
had
a
it all.
bunch of that
And now we
was
have a
so
really cool
impressive.
banner behind us. And that's great too, because I feel like we're at a press conference and we're getting traded to second names. But what's really awesome is your career. Can you share with this audience a little bit about it? When did it all start? How did it all start?
Right.
Why did it all start?
Such a bloody long story now.
Oh, I know.
Born in England, you might know that by now with the English things I throw out every once in a while. But yeah, I started singing professionally when I was 8 in Africa. And I made a record and I toured all over Africa, and I got really scary. We had armed convoys taking us to shows. And my parents were like, "Okay, we're gonna go back to England." And,
Were you going to be eaten by lions or something? Was that the danger?
No, well, actually,
That's one of the
politically,
things.
it was crazy. Mugabe was taking over, and it was
Political.
getting a
Political.
I thought it was the
frightening
wild
there.
furry
So
animals with big teeth.
yeah, we saw those though. Lots of like baboon. In fact, my parents had a game with us when my sister and I were being awful in the car together as little kids. It was called Sponsored Silence, and they would give us money if we could find the baboons in the bush, because you could see their eyes. You know, you'd be like, "Baboon!" And that was the only time you could speak, is if you saw one. So, but yeah, I started singing out there, and came to the States when I was 10. Played the lead in Annie. Almost went to London to play Annie, but I was too tall. It's my first heartbreak in show business, being too tall to play the London Broadway production. But yeah, I've always sung since I was a little kid, and Jen was like this incredible. You know, the business is so nuts. You never know where your good is going to come from, and I've always been a real professional singer. And suddenly, I had an agent, and I was auditioning for all kinds of things, and Jeb was just one of a million auditions that I went on. And then I got the lead, and suddenly I was doing voice work, which was incredible. And I was very acclimated already to a microphone and headphones, recording in the studio as a singer, but I loved it. It is the funnest work. And I love the freedom of it, because you can just be an idiot in the studio and nobody's watching you. It's not, you don't have to worry about your light or your and none of that. You just get to play. And whether you're just kind of in a booth doing a commercial copy, it's you and the microphone, and performing. I just love it all. Yeah. So it was an incredible thing that just happened, and now I get to sit here with you lovely people all these years later, which is even more amazing. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me.
That's fantastic, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know Gem and the Holograms always had a special place in my heart because my name is Gemma and it was kind of like my name.
Yeah.
Gem for short. Yeah, Gem for short.
Oh, I think that deserves a hug. Come up here.
It's totally
Come on,
outrageous.
give Gemma a hug.
Get up here.
Come on, Gemma. Gemma, get this.
There it
Get a
is.
hug.
There
we
it
go.
is.
Yay!
There we go. It's boom time, you guys. It's
I know she
fantastic.
wanted to do that.
I love it.
She's such a sparkly mermaid today.
She is. She's always sparkly, but today she's a mermaid
Oh, yeah, look at
too.
your pants. They're
I'm
mermaid.
always
Look at those sparkly mermaid pants.
I can
This is
tell you,
Eugene Oberlin.
I can tell you a secret. You know why? Because your pants have scales. But I'm bum. Anyway.
They'll be here all weekend, folks. Try the feel.
No, I'm a mermaid every day, and actually, that's like my business. I'm a professional mermaid performer, and I actually go by Mermaid Jen, so it's kind of like
Wow.
my name, but like not, and that's amazing. It's kind of
It's totally
inspired by
amazing.
you a little bit.
Do you know why mermaids wear seashells? Because she outgrew her bee shells.
That's pretty funny.
That's clean for a
I like how I like as soon as you start talking, I scan the audience. To see who's out there. Okay.
You can kids and
Okay, I don't need a
good,
mute
good,
you.
okay, it's good, okay.
I just want to say it's really fun. I'm sure you've experienced this too in the projects you've done. How the cartoon will morph into all of these different mediums and the different ways of honoring your characters, like Gem Mermaid and Gem
That's so cool, right?
Steampunk and like all.
Gen
these-
Transformer.
Yeah. Have you seen that? I've seen like cosplay Transformers turn into these earrings and.
Was that Deke?
Wow.
Deke Studios that did Gen?
No, it was
Deke?
Sunbow.
Oh, some. Oh,
Sunbow, and now it's
I don't know how to say
Hasbro. And now Power Rangers is Hasbro.
Oh, yeah,
So
Power
all
Rangers,
are
yeah.
the same
What's-
Hasbro family.
What's Power Rangers?
They're really loud.
And they're
And they
really-
kick really high.
They are
and
really
I'm
loud.
kind of scared of some of them,
Yeah.
but they're all really
I
amazing.
can tell you who the scary ones are. Yeah. No, it's a good group of people, you guys. Now, Wally, you just look like a guy who is a good voice actor. You just know you have a.
Yes, I have a face made for voiceover. Thank you. You can say it. You can say it. I've heard it before. I get it.
My question is actually for Adam West. So if you could.
Oh, yes, Princess. It's nice to be here this Sunday morning. What is your question, you foul fiend?
Well, let me tell you, this Batman, my fine feathered face. We're just married.
Good gracious, it's the penguin! Robin, quick, get the anti-penguin bat spray.
Holy Toledo, Batman!
Wow, you're a good Robin too.
Oh, I like it.
I'll be Batman, you be everybody else.
But you have to be the villain.
Alfred! Oh, thank you.
What's the
Alfred, could you polish my shoes and dust the study while Aunt Harriet is at the hairdresser?
Yes, of course, Master Bruce.
What's that?
Yes, of course, Master Bruce.
Oh, we have our Alfred. We have the entire Batman cast here. This is fantastic. But who wants to be Aunt Harriet? No one.
Merciful heavens!
Merciful heavens.
This is turning into the Batman 66 family. This is the we didn't sleep overnight.
The boys went fishing again. Oh dear.
I love that. Gee whiz, Aunt Harriet.
Did you see the golly gee whiz, Aunt Harriet? Did you see the Batman animated films that Adam West did before he passed away?
Yeah, the way you played the Riddler.
Yeah, exactly. Lynn Marie Stewart played Aunt Harriet.
Oh my God.
Do you know who Lynn Marie Stewart is? She's the most beautiful woman in Puppetland. She's Miss Yvonne! Miss Yvonne did Aunt Harriet for the movies, and she was fantastic. And
She really was.
like
Those movies were a lot of fun. One thing I loved about that is it was the first time we finally got to see William Shatner and Adam West together, even if we didn't see it. You know?
Thank God
Even
for
if they
that.
didn't even meet.
Thank God for that. Oh, they did a pilot together called Alexander before Batman and before Star Trek,
Wow.
where William Shatner was Alexander the Great, and Adam West played the head of his military. And you can find it on eBay. It's a bootleg, but it's called Alexander, and it's a pilot that was supposed to go to series with Shatner and Adam together. And then they went their own separate ways, and it was a lot of fun. You know,
That had to have some of the finest acting in Hollywood.
well, I always joke about the fact that in 1968, after both Star Trek and Batman were canceled, they were both looking for work, and they were both similar types of actors, so they would probably be at auditions together for the same role, and I think that conversation would be fantastic to have. Why, hello, Bill, my old friend. What have you been up to? I've been gallivanting around the galaxy, saving the universe from Klingons, and you, Adam, what have you been up to? I've been gathering around Gotham City, saving the citizens from the likes of the Joker and Catwoman. Well, you know they dated. Adam
Oh, yeah.
and
Adam.
Shatner. Yeah,
Oh,
they
Adam
had,
Shatner.
they had a love child. Adam and Shatner dated. They had a love child. Patrick Warburton. Go national. Go like a pro. That's it.
It's pretty great, yeah. I like him on now. Hey, Peter, you got a screwdriver I can borrow?
Peter. Hey, Peter.
That's it.
Wally, where are you based out of?
Parts unknown. Parts unknown.
I'm a man without a home. No, I'm in Student City.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
You can play the baboon game there too.
Yes, the types of baboons there you don't want to talk to or touch because they bite.
Did you ever work at Wally Burr?
Wally Burr was my first voiceover coach.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wally.
And I knew Christine, his wife, very well.
Yeah.
She was one of my first agents. And of course, Wally has passed away since.
Yeah.
But
Do you know Arlene? Arlene Thornton?
I've met her, never been represented by her. But it's a small,
Yeah.
very small,
It's a very
sensitive
small-
world.
it is.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
great.
I need to start meeting up.
Well, you need to get out of Orlando. That's what you need to do.
I
This weather is so
say that
beautiful. It's so
every day.
beautiful here. I would just,
Well, you're here the 2 days this year that it's been nice. I promise you. It's
Oh,
fine.
good.
It's
Yeah.
It's not that great. It's still a fun place, so. But yeah, do you guys have any questions for our panel of experts?
Put our mermaid to
Or
work,
these
please.
three.
Our mermaid is workless. She needs to have.
She needs a consistent job here. Yeah, there you go.
Ladies
do
first.
you want to line up over here, or do we just want
Yeah, we just pass it
No, let the
around.
mermaid
Yeah.
swim over to you, and
There we go.
All right.
Who wants
Ladies
to
first. Ladies first. Ladies.
Okay.
Oh, I like that Hello Kitty tattoo.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
Samantha, you only did the talking voice for Jerica and Jen.
Right.
And how come you didn't do the singing voice?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. They did a lot of the trickery of that in the 80s, but when I auditioned for it, my agent said it was for a rock singer, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect, it's amazing. And I still have my sides, which are your audition sides that you're actually not supposed to take, but I took them. And I have on there, I must ask Arlene about doing the singing voice. And what I came to find out was that the singing was a huge machine in New York that had already been cast. And then they came to LA to hunt for the voice actors to match the speaking voices to the singing counterparts. So there were a few of us in the cast that actually sang, but obviously it was already cast, so yeah. But it was so seamless. You guys, when you were little, had no idea about the rules.
What Screen Actors Guild rules are that if you sing, if you're doing a voiceover and you sing, there's a bump, a huge bump in pay.
Yeah.
If you sing just a couple of things, there's a huge bump. So maybe they didn't want to have to.
But they had to actually, they had to pay me for 2 characters. Because
Well,
was
Screen Actors
amazing.
Guild, you're allowed 3 characters, so you're
Yeah.
under the thing. They have to bump you over the 3rd.
Yeah.
But singing is a huge bump. So, for
Yeah.
example, if I was doing Family Guy and then Peter Criss and Seth was Ace Frehley, and we said, "Hey, now's our chance." So we get out, and then Audrey Ball is out the guy, Chattanooga, choo-choo, bow. We got a bump for that. We get a bump for every time we
That's
sang on
amazing.
anything. So
Yeah.
that might have had something to do with it too. So
It
maybe
might
the New
have,
York
yeah.
singer
And it's before
was cheaper or
MP3s
something.
and-
I didn't want to give the bump.
Yeah, because this show apparently had a lot more money than I realized because it was a live
Because you weren't
orchestra.
seeing it.
yeah, but I mean they brought in real players and and on the days of 2-inch tape analog world, not flying files across the country like you guys.
Have you ever
Yeah.
met Britta?
I have, yeah. There's an actual convention called Gem Con. It's been going on for 13 or 14 years. It's in a different city every year.
I know.
Oh, you know about it, yeah. And so slowly they've brought all the cast together for different ones, and it's been incredible. It's just been so much fun. So, but I actually emailed Britta in 2003 because I had Googled Gem and the Holograms one day when the internet was still kind of new, and I couldn't believe all the Gem stuff that came up, all the web rings and email lists and all this stuff. And so I emailed her. I found her email, and I was like, hey, oh, we should say hi.
My friend Athena went as Jim for Halloween this year.
She did?
I have to get a picture from you.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, they had a new spirit Halloween costume. Or,
Yeah, there was
or
a new
something.
one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had a Halloween. Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, no, I was so sad I missed last Gem Con because it was in Cleveland where I live,
Right on the road.
but I had a mermaid job.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
couldn't go.
Yeah, because Jen was a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I know, I did go see that. I was
Yeah, it was incredible how music impacted Saturday morning cartoons, and we got to go and speak at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We were
That's
out there with like
amazing.
Madonna It was crazy.
We deserve it.
It was very cool.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
It's just something you
The
don't expect
reach,
when you're
yeah,
doing
you
it.
don't realize how it was kind of ahead of its time.
Well, I'm a lot older than you, but music and cartoons in my day were the Archies, the Groovy
Oh
Ghoulies.
yeah.
Josie and the Pussycats.
Josie and the Pussycats, yeah, right. Yeah. Love the Groovy Ghoulies. It was everything I was into: monsters, animation, and rock and roll. And here's these monsters playing rock and roll. I'm like, I like this. I like it. It's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really amazing the legacy. Like when you look at the Rock Hall, like all the people like that are in there, and then it's like they had it was the Rock on TV exhibit, and they had all the people like influencing, rock music on television, and Jen being there was just like,
It
And
was
the
just
banana
shows
split.
how
The
much
banana
impact
split.
it made.
That's when I first came to America. That was what I turned on the telly. It was still very, very English, and I was like, what is this American craziness? That was, yeah. I remember that.
And they wonder why I grew up so strange.
That and Dark Shadows.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Dark
Yes,
Shadows.
Dark Shadows.
It was a night unlike any before. I was at Collins Grove, and there she was, the very likeness of Josette. I love Dark Shadows.
It kind of freaked me out.
Never seen it before.
It was good.
Next question?
Thanks for
Holy voice acting.
Hey, what's up, guys? So, Session Notes, I got to interview a few years back before Wally Moore passed away. I got to interview him on a radio show. And he's a legendary voice director since the Hanna-Barbera, since the 60s. He's done 70s cartoons, 80s, and 90s. Basically all the cartoons that everyone here is probably going to watch them. During the interview, I asked him, you've done everything, Transformers, Inspector Gadget, Scooby-Doo, Jem, G.I. Joe, etc., and I asked him, what's your favorite, you've had like 3 or 4 decades under your belt, what's your favorite show you've ever worked on? And he said, Jem. I was surprised because he's,
Because he's done
he's hardcore military,
He was the-
he's a tough dude.
Tough guy, yeah.
Tough guy, mouth of a trucker. I think he was a Marine, I forget, but I know, he's like this gruff, tough guy, and then when he says Gem holograms, I said, really? I was like, why? And he was like, because it was possibly the most realistic and relatable series I ever worked
That's
on.
so true. God, I never knew he said that because we were always encouraged to do real reads. He didn't want cartoony, although the show is like crazy, campy, and ridiculous. But he always said we want the little kids to think of you as their friends, their older sisters, and so it was always a very real read. And he was always incredibly kind. I remember going to do the sessions, and some of the voice actors were like, "Oh my God, we're still here!" But I'd never done a series before, so to me it just was normal. But hindsight, I've been told, he was like a taskmaster.
That was my question, actually. My question was to you, how was it for you to work with him? If
For
you
me, it was a
remember.
joy. I mean, he was incredibly kind, and I didn't know anything different, so I never experienced anything crazy or frustrating with him at all. He was incredibly kind and patient and wonderful, and just let me fly and trusted me to be the lead in this show. So for me, it was amazing. But I'm so curious to hear.
He was a great coach. He had an 8-week course, and every week would be some different aspect of voiceover. 1 week it would be promo, 1 week it would be looping, dubbing, 1 week it would be animation, 1 week it would be. But he was great. He told me a very funny story about when he was working on Inspector Gadget with Don Adams and Frank Welker. Frank Welker, Dr. Claw. You remember that guy? So Don Adams would come in at the beginning of the day, and he would be talking like this, and doing his Don Adams. He said by the end of the day, the entire cast was talking like this. It was very infectious. He said, no, don't do Don Adams. Don't do Inspector Gadget. I want you to do your own character. It's pretty funny, yeah. Well, I can see how that kind of voice would be infectious, would catch on. Everybody would be talking like this by the end of the day.
I'm always on duty.
I love Inspector Gadget.
That's cool.
I'm pretty good myself.
Oh, Jim's getting the mic. Very cool.
Retrieving the mic.
Nice, that's so cool. You were talking about how when you were doing the show, it's like people were in the booth, they're like, oh man, we're still here.
Yeah.
I realize I'm on the outside, but I feel like if you're working, you should be happy that you're working, right? It's such a great
That's
career,
how
right?
I felt. I was
it's
like,
such a neat thing.
I landed with my bun and butters, my dad would say. Just
I got
to
to
be,
meet-
just
yeah.
to be there, to be working.
I met Harry Shearer once, and I imagine having for over 30 years a career where you did almost nothing, and you could phone in your lines to The Simpsons and make millions of dollars.
Stupid money.
Like And like, people might not even really know what you look like if you don't, get out there in a lot.
Yeah, well, Harry was also on camera. He was on set.
Harry was on
and
set,
Spinal
yeah.
Tap and everything. So, but
But it's
yeah, there
easier
are,
to
like,
disguise
who knows what
yourself.
Dan
Kessler
Kessler
was,
was?
yeah.
Nobody. Yeah. Which is kind of great.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I prefer to do voiceover and not on camera. Everybody's like, oh, don't you want to go on camera? I'm like, why would I? This is the funnest job in the
There
world.
goes your privacy.
Occasionally I do, and I have done it, and I did a Dell commercial about 3 years ago as a glam rocker, and that was kind of fun because the director was the director of Napoleon Dynamite, so that was pretty cool. Jared Hess. But other than that, I prefer just to not do any of that stuff because I don't want to have stuff slathered all over my face and my hair pulled and sprayed and teased, and it's kind of annoying.
There's no makeup chair behind the mic, is there?
Nope. You walk in a tank top and shorts and sandals, and you say, "What do you want me to say? What do you want me to read?" And it's great. When I was on the Tonight Show for 4 years, I specifically said, because everybody wanted to be on the Tonight Show on camera.
What did you do at the Tonight Show?
I was the announcer.
It's the Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Welcome. So that was thank you, you 4 people who watched the show. Was a great job. But they said, because everybody who gets in there said, "Hey, can I be in some bits? Can I be in?" And I never said that. And they said, "Do you want to be in some bits?" And I'm like, "Nope."
You want the anonymity.
I love going to the grocery store and not being bothered, and I can buy my groceries, and I don't have to be
And
hassled.
you've already been paid as that.
Exactly. And I'm acting. I'm doing what I love, and I don't have to do anything like that because I have friends who are on camera.
People.
My friend Dan, my friend Bridget, they're all well-known on-camera people. And I see when I'm with them walking around that people will come up, "Hey, how's it going? I know you." I'm like, "I'll be over here." Browsing the magazine section.
Or it's worse when you're in the store and you're like, and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm real. Yeah, so voice actors don't, for the most part, have to worry about that.
That's good.
Kind
Yeah.
of
On
one
here
of
is
the
all
charms.
hurry up and wait too.
Oh.
Like you sit in makeup for like 6-9 hours.
And it's
You're
like,
okay, now I'm gonna recapture the vibe, but voiceover, and then you're up and running. You're in and out.
You go, you do your session. and
Yeah. It's
You
great.
show up to the studio, you sign your paperwork, you have your bagel, you get some orange juice, you get your water, you go to the studio, and it's fun for 4 hours, especially ensemble reads.
I was about to ask if you did a lot of table reads versus individual work, because I know sometimes you got to go in by yourself to the booth and react to people who aren't there, but it's always preferable to have a whole cast together, I would imagine.
It is. Family Guy, Garfield Show, Avengers of Mightiest Heroes, those kind of shows would be ensemble cast.
I know Seth loves to have the whole game together.
Well, he did, but now
Yeah,
he's kind
when
of
he
he's
could.
phoning it in.
He's
so
got the
it's-
Orville, he's got
now it's down to one person, and it's not as fun as it was with Seth and Seth Green and Patrick Bristow and me and a couple of the other guys, and just sitting in a semicircle singing as trees in a forest, Cats in the Cradle, if you remember that one. But there are video games, for example, they have just your lines isolated, where I'll just go in for 4 hours just to read all the Riddler stuff, and then they integrate it into the thing later through the magic of post-production. But then it's incumbent upon the director to have a overall idea of how this puzzle is eventually going to fit together. Because you don't have the group together, you're only dealing with the individuals, you have to have a really good sense of how this is all going to fit together. Because you don't want to have one guy come in one day and record a line, and then have the guy coming in 3 days later record the line after it, and sound like you're not in the same room together. Exactly. So that's why it's incumbent upon really good voice directors, like Amanda Wyatt and people like that, to have the overall sense of that. Also, the anime stuff you're only doing when you're dubbing Japanese cartoons like Bleach and Naruto. So that's all one person at a time too, and then the next one. So everybody's like, "How's it like working with Johnny Young Bosch all those years on Bleach?" I'm like, "I don't know.
Never met him.
Never met him. I met him at a convention.
Never
Sat
met him
down
on
and
set.
said, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Even though we fought for 4 seasons on Bleach each other, but never met him. So it's pretty cool.
That's good editing, that.
It's great editing.
Yeah.
That's the bulk of the voiceover world, especially like commercials, because people, they're like, "Well, what did you do after Jen? You kind of disappeared." But I was like, I did a ton of commercials.
Yeah.
I was the bank lady.
Your
and
voice
then-
is out there.
You're doing a ton of stuff, but it's you in a studio with copy by yourself, and the ad executives maybe, and the producers and behind the thing, and just you and this whole script.
Or the magic of what's called ISDN, which is a high-quality phone line. They're abandoning that now because it's expensive in favor of Skype, high-quality Skype.
So you can literally phone it in now.
You can
Phone
literally
match.
phone it in. I've been to sessions where you just go to a studio that has ISDN, and it's just you and the director, and you're on ISDN line with somebody in Chicago or New York or San Francisco, and they're directing you over the thing. You never meet these people. I have agents in San Francisco I have never met. And they've been booking me literally for 10 years on stuff.
Crazy.
I've never met them, and I'm like, I should fly up there one day and take them to dinner or something.
Thanks for the time, you know.
So sometimes I'm like, you don't even have them in the room. They're miles away, and you're like, what's the weather like over there? Well, it's the 2 good days in Orlando that we've had so far. And, well, in LA, it's sunny and hot.
Yeah, it's really odd. And then somebody like, all right, we got what we wanted. That's great. And you're like, okay,
Yeah,
nice
that's
to
good.
kind
And
of meet you.
that weirds me out. I never know. Did I
Did you really now? Which
But
one did
they-
they like?
Yeah.
They took the
It
second
is-
take of
yeah.
40.
Yes, exactly.
It's very
Sometimes I
impersonal.
like when they make me do 100 takes, because then I
Yeah.
know they really got variety with it.
I
But if
really-
you do it after 3 takes, like, yeah, we got it.
We
I'm
got
like,
it, we're good.
Which one?
I'm sure they did.
Am I really that brilliant?
Yeah.
Are they
It's,
okay?
you're just that good.
Let's wait till the
Yeah.
commercial comes out and see if it's me.
I remember you were talking about video games a minute ago, as the rhythm and so on. I talked to Kevin Conroy at a convention once.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Yes,
said,
what did Kevin say?
he said one of the hardest things for him was they would do the table reads for Batman the Animated Series, and that was fantastic. But he said that he had to spend 4 hours saying, I need to get to the control room, or I need to find a way to the Batmobile, or whatever he says in the game. And they're like, we need it 6 more times. But he would read it exactly the same every time. They're like, good, now do this. And he'd do it exactly the same. And they're like, that's the one.
Well, there's a thing
The
in
levels, everything, you know.
Exactly. There's a thing in voiceover where they say, okay, do line 26 ABC. And ABC means do it 3 times. But the 3 times you do it have to be different. You have to give them a variety. So, I'm going to go to the car. I'm going to go to the car. I'm going to go to the car. So, and then you let them pick it later and figure out which one slides in. But some people go in and they go, okay, give me line 26 ABC. I'm going to go to the car. I'm going to go to the car. I'm going to go to the car. There's no variety there. So when you do the ABC, you have to give them variety, give them something different.
That's where I remember
You'll
that
definitely
is
get hired back.
reading it wild. I've not heard it called ABC. See, things change so fast.
Oh, well,
But
no,
then-
it's when you do the 3 takes of each
3
line, that's
takes.
the ABCs, yeah.
Okay, because back in the day they would be like, okay, give us 3 wild lines.
3 wild, right.
Right, so you do
But I'm
that.
so nuts sometimes I do it, I go into like L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V. And I literally have to say, I can do this all day, stop me when you've had enough. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the car, I'm going to go to the car, I'm going to go to the car, I'm going to go. And you hear the guys in the ice stand like, stop! Okay, I guess you got enough.
Enough!
You're nothing if not provided.
Right. I like variety.
Absolutely. Oh man, that's great. Are there any other questions in the audience out there? It's been a minute since we've gone out that way. Here you go. Oh, right there. Then we'll back up. I can just see the lights.
You're next.
You're next, though, I promise.
Yay!
Nerdy chic.
Universe?
All you can see is the nerdy chic part.
Oh boy. Well, I had the best time on the Tonight Show because we taped at 4 o'clock, and I would do video games or commercials or cartoons in the morning, and then at 3 o'clock I knew I had to be at NBC to do the run through at 3:30 of the opening, and then we taped live to tape at 4. So it was like you work all day, and then it was like going in the later afternoon to hang out with friends and family. We were all very close. We all loved each other, and Jay Leno is one of the most dearest human beings on the planet Earth. I loved working for him. He had a hard, fast rule that we taped from 4 till 5:15. I want everybody home with their families by 5:30 to enjoy the evening. And we didn't keep people late unless we had the president on the show or something. Then of course we had to go by his schedule. But he was the greatest guy to work for. And I know you've heard stories about how other late night hosts sometimes behave off camera, and from what I hear, they're all true. But Jay is the kind of guy to where this was one day. I think her name was what was her name? Val. Her name was Val. She was one of the PAs on the show, and she was kind of a motorhead. She had a motorcycle, and he said, "This is Jay Leno, $30 million a year man, saying to Val."
Hey, I got a new Kawasaki and 4QX. You want to come out here and take a spin?
He let the PA drive her around the lot just because he knew that she was into that kind of stuff. He didn't have to do that, but he did that, and he was just so. He probably the Tonight Show, because I was only the 7th full-time announcer on the Tonight Show in Tonight Show history. That you never see me. I consider myself the Don Pardo of Saturday Night Live, of The Tonight Show. And I never wanted to be seen, I just wanted to do voices. I would do character voices and comedy bits and all kinds of stuff, and it was fun. I never saw me on camera. Saw my hands at one point when they had me cut in doing something with the hand, but other than that, it was strictly voiceover, but it was just so much fun. And the day, the show ended and went to, New York with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
It was bittersweet, but it was like, wow, this was an amazing 4 years. But I would have loved to have seen it gone on for another 20 years. But that was probably, but I also love the Garfield show because that amazing cast of characters with Frank Welker, Greg Berger, Jason Marsden, Audrey Wasserluth. How do you go wrong with that, And the Riddler. I love the Riddler. I love this guy. He's so I turn into the Riddler in LA traffic. Yeah. I'm John Arbuckle with my pets at home. Hey, okay, I'll be home soon. Okay, Daddy, I'll be home soon. Okay. Okay, Roxy, don't eat spook's food now. I'll be home. Okay, pretty soon. Hey, you fool! I should run you over now. Get out of the traffic. Get off the road, you snake. So it's kind of funny how your personality changes so much. But that's why I auditioned with that voice as John Arbuckle. Because I'm like, what would this guy sound like? He's just kind of a plain guy. Okay, I'm just gonna talk like I talk to my own pets, my own cat and dog. And it seemed to work. Jim Davis liked it, so I got the job. So that was pretty good. And he's right because animals respond. You have pets? Yeah. You have pets? Yeah. They respond to that musicality in your voice.
Yeah, the tone of they know what's going on.
And I figured that animals don't like minor keys; they like major keys.
They're so happy.
Because if you talk like this, you're all talking in a major key, and and if you do this, then and you're hitting those flat notes and those sharps. They're like, uh-oh, what happened? So they respond to that musicality of the voice. So I'm like, well, that's probably. So I go, hey Garfield, you want to go for a picnic? And then you go, Garfield, you ate the turkey again, didn't you? There's those flat notes, and you're like, oh well, but Garfield.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Thank you, Alfred the Butler. Thank you, Alfred.
Oh my gosh, guys. This has been a great time. I hope we still have some time because we're going to keep it rolling right over here.
Yeah, I think a few minutes.
Yeah, that's as long as you want. I love this.
With the live action versions of the older cartoons like Riverdale on CW and also Gypsy and the Pussycats getting their movie back in the early 2000s, what were your thoughts on those when they first being put into live action?
You want my reaction?
Yeah.
On camera actors. They're doing voiceover.
It doesn't quite translate most of the time, right? It makes into a great product, but
is
totally
that
different
not the
product.
case where you're like, really? On camera people? This is a secret. It does not go beyond this room. The voiceover casting directors, the directors who voice direct, the casting directors, the producers, the writers, the directors, everybody involved do not like celebrities in voiceover. They hate directing on-camera TV actors in voiceover. They're not trained to do that. They don't know how to do it. It takes about 4 times as long for them to do a voiceover session as a professional voiceover person who come in and nail it in an hour. They despise working with on-camera TV actors in voiceover. You know who wants the people in voiceover, TV actors in voiceover? The marketing people.
Yeah.
Hey, we can get blah, blah, blah,
He
blah,
was in
blah,
this show.
and put their thing on the thing, and we can tweet about it. Well, it took them 4,000 takes to do what she and I can do in probably 10, and it takes
Time
them
is
twice
money.
as long. Yeah, time is money, yeah. But the marketing people said, we gotta have a name.
And they get to talk because their name is on the bar.
Yeah.
On the marquee.
I remember when that started to happen in LA, and suddenly you were like, is that Julia Roberts doing MasterCard?
Every DreamWorks
Wait, is that?
thing, and yeah.
And you'd start to hear the celebrities, and then I remember it started to get really crazy when I was like, you're down to the last 2 for this. You're up against Alicia Silverstone and Drew Barrymore. And I started to think, okay, the road's getting narrower here, I sing too.
You know what started that? Was Aladdin with Robin Williams.
That's
The genie out of the bottle, as it were.
Wow.
That was the beginning of the end. So.
Yeah,
Well,
it kind
now-
of was. It really started to edge people out. The normal stuff that you and I would be booking. So It
Exactly.
was like,
And social media ruined it too, because
Yeah.
now, we can tweet that we got
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. This
well, what are
and
your
that.
numbers? Tell me your phone numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
What I meant was, what did you think about how they turned the cartoons into live action movies? That's what I meant.
Well, I had my own crazy experience of that with Jam.
Yeah.
Fans have been waiting like 900 years for a reboot. And at the time, obviously you want to support it because it's the brand coming back and you don't know what they're going to do with it. So you are kind of celebrating the idea of a property that you love coming back. At least I was excited because it had been so long and the fans were excited. But then, when they don't stick, they may have the best intentions or not, but they don't stick to the source material enough to capture the hearts of the original fans that loved it, then I think it's a mistake. I think you really have to, I think, sometimes they want to deviate so bad because they don't want to recreate, they don't want to try and recreate it, but there's certain beautiful things about a property, it should be in there, and a lot of the time it's not. It's frustrating for the fans, and
Or-
I remember when William Shatner was tweeting, "What? No synergy? No gem star earrings?" Like,
I remember that. And it's like Shatner knows what's going on here.
Yeah.
He's watching the show.
Yeah, he was tweeting about it.
He's Captain Kirk, he knows
Trains
everything.
going over the hills.
That's all.
I love Jen and the holograms. That's my favorite show. She's hot.
So that's,
what's crazy?
yeah, old Bill is,
I have an experience
Oh,
with a
understand.
younger Bill. When I was young, I was like 11.
A lot of women do.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, go on.
And Jay Leno, too. I used to do these crazy shows for the LAPD Police Department at the Shrine Auditorium.
Sir, for law enforcement, our friends in law enforcement.
Yes.
Thank you.
And they would have these huge benefits, and Jay Leno would often MC, and William Shatner's introduced me a bunch of times. It was like, oh, we have an 11-year-old from England!
Wow,
And I'd sing with the Ray Anthony Orchestra and stuff, but I tried to chat with him once about that, but he got on his phone. He was not interested. I was like, oh, I have this thing, and we're in the green room together. This comes full circle. This is so nice.
You thought it was his phone. It was his communicator. He was talking to
It
shit.
was. He was about to clean up. Yeah.
There was, I saw another, I'm not going to rag on Bill very long, but it was really funny. In the same sentence,
Scotty, I've got Jim down here. I'm doing a quick interview. Ask Scotty, beat me up. Thank you.
there was a time I saw Shatner. I know the way, I don't want to digress too much, but he said in one sentence, he was talking about George Takei having his own ship in Star Trek 6. And he's like, he knows it's all pretend, right? It's just spaceships. And then the very next sentence, he said, I don't know why he wouldn't be on my ship. Which is it, Bill? Which is it? I was like, well, we can't have two ships. We've got the Enterprise.
That's what's great about Shatner and Adam is they both have such a dry, well, Shatner's still alive, but they both have such a dry sense of humor. You really never knew when.
What was a joke or what was a jam?
Right, and that was what makes him so great on Family Guy. Adam is that he's so dry. Like he goes up to, they're auditioning for the choir and he sings, "You gotta have faith, faith, faith," and then he walks off and he goes, "You know where to find me." Someone's stealing my water. That one's going down the drain. But they were great at that. And I would see Adam at shows, and I knew him for 37 years, but I would see these nervous fans line up, and I'd be hanging out with him, and the fan would come up, "Oh, hi, Mr. West," and he'd just look at me and go, "You again?" It's a total joke, but the fan would go, I'm like,
Very similar to British humor. Like to take, as they say, we like to take the piss out of people. And and it's culturally, the Americans often don't realize. It's like, no, I'm just taking the piss out of you.
It's crazy, guys. Are there any other questions out there before we wrap up? Which I don't want to do, but because there's such a great group here. Psycho Red is out there. Psycho Red!
Yeah, thanks. So my question is for Wally. So when you when you start on like Power Rangers in Space.
What's your name?
Christian.
I see you're filming.
Yeah.
Yes, Christian. What would you like to know?
So when you voiced Psycho Blue on Power Rangers in Space.
Yes, Christian.
Yeah. Did you consider it like just like any other role, like because you only voiced Psycho Blue for only like a couple of episodes? So like,
Correct,
did you just consider it like just another job and then you would move on to the next thing, or did you like actually have a lot of fun with it being like an evil ranger?
Well, I like the villains more obviously than the heroes. I've been Ant-Man and I've been a bunch of other people, Green Lantern, but I love Riddler, I love the Psychos and all that kind of stuff. That was fairly early on in my voiceover thing. I had only been in voiceover about 2 years at the time, but I was starting to collect up parts in different franchises. I was in Transformers, I was a Care Bear in the Talking Toy, and I was like, wow, I'm now part of the Power Rangers franchise, so this is pretty cool. And then they said, oh no, he gets killed off in about 4 episodes. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. So initially it was that in the infancy of my voiceover career, I was like, yeah, it's just another job, I'm gonna move on to something else now. But later when I saw, they had asked me to do these shows a couple years back, and I'm like, nobody's really gonna care about this character. Was only on for like a week and a half or something. Oh no, the fans are really into it. I'm like, yeah, I don't really know, that's probably not for me. But then I started seeing guys in their costumes, and like Christian's here. Christian's costume, very nicely done. Did you do that?
Yeah.
Very nice. Where's your helmet? I saw your helmet earlier, it's very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Christian's
Just like first gotta put this on.
all right. Oh wow! How do you see through that thing?
Nice.
Very nice. Wow. Sell it, baby. See, I'm a nerd too. I used to dress up as Darth Vader and all kinds of characters when I was a kid. So I love this kind of stuff. And I can really, really, truly respect it. And I love that, geek is chic now. I think it's really terrific. But yeah, once all the franchises started coming into my life, I was like, wow, and this and this and this and that. And then the import started to hit. And then when the action figures came out of the Psychos, I'm like, all right, well, maybe they were right all along. Maybe there's something to this now. They have lightning fingers, Psycho Blue. And all
Yeah, that blue one's really cool. I got it.
Yeah. So then I said, all right, well, and then they got the other guys, and I said, well, now it makes sense to do this because you have the rest, well, most of the rest of them, and the toys are out. Okay, yeah, and I'm glad I did because I got to meet all you guys people. So
Yeah, thanks for coming, by the way.
Oh, thank
I'm really
you.
glad you guys are both here this weekend. We still have a few more minutes if we just got another question. That's great. Otherwise, I'm sure we can keep talking or get these guys to do some voices. Right here.
What time do we have to end?
12:30. It's,
Yeah, we have like
12.
Oh, it's only 12:16.
I honestly felt like it was going by faster. That's not a shot anyway.
I know. It seems like it's going on forever. I know.
Can you talk about some of the differences between dubbing and doing animation or doing voices for animation that comes later?
Yes, actually, it's no. Yeah, who wants to go first on that? I get it. Like, if you're dubbing an anime, you have to kind of match the lips.
It's a whole different process, but that's how we're trained, is to do that, which is why the TV actors often fail so miserably at this. When you're looping, for example, Bleach, or Zatch or Naruto, or one of those cartoons, the cartoon's already been done in Japan. So what they'll do, the writers will isolate via time code. There's a time code that runs underneath the picture at all times, telling you where in the process it is. And they will isolate the time code. Okay, Renji's line starts at 0302.11, and it goes to 0302.19. So you know you have 8 seconds to say a specific thing. And you look at what's called the flaps, the lip flaps. Now, I think they make them kind of intentionally ambiguous, so they know that it will be dubbed later. So the writer, it's incumbent upon them to read the subtitle or know what the character is saying for that particular line, and then translate it in English to capture the same meaning, but fit within the flaps. You can't have something that goes like that and have 20 words because it only says, so you have to sometimes say, get lost, loser, that kind of thing, and then that's the meaning of the thing. So that's why sometimes the subs versus the dubs, the subtitles versus the American dub, will be a little bit different. A show called Tiger and Bunny, which I'm very proud of, was a great 26 episode arc. It was about these 2 superheroes. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but you should get it. It's 26 episodes and it's done full arc. It's about these 2 superheroes. One's kind of a little older, he's kind of at the end of his career, and the other one is just kind of the new up and coming hot one, and they team them together. The idea in this show is that people really do have these powers. They're called nexts, the next generation of kind of almost like mutants. But they get these superpowers and they get these costumes and they find sponsors. So if you've seen any of these characters with the armor, they got like SoftBank and all these, figure arts and all these things. It's like race car drivers, so they have all the patches of all of the sponsors. And then there's a bunch of blimps that fly over town with these cameras, and when the superhero is called into action and you go apprehend the criminal, you're given points for apprehending. So at the end of the season, it's a TV show. They televise all this. It's brilliant. So at the end, they have who got the most points, who's the hero of the year, and they tally up all the points. It's like a reality show. It's fantastic. So it's very big in Japan, but it came over here, and they said, well, we want to Americanize it quite a bit, so we want to have a little more fun with it. So that was one of those rare instances to where if you're wearing a helmet as a character, you don't really see the flaps, that you can just kind of go. And there were some lines that were very staunch, but not kind of fun American. So they said, well, we want you to bring some improvisation to it if you want to. I said, this would be great. So, for example, one where Tiger is on top of the car, and he pops his head down on the villain's car, and he says, pull over right now, or I'm going to arrest you. And that was the Japanese version. But the American version, I just said, can I just try? We would do one as written. And then the next one, we'd improv and do some other stuff. Just in case the editor, once they were ready, said, yeah, let's go with the alternate. And it just pops his head down and says, morning, sunshine! And that was, because that was kind of his character, it's kind of aloof. And then there was a particular scene, and I was very happy when we watched it at my house, because we watched all 26 episodes over the course of 26 Saturdays at my movie night. There was one where there were these robots on a bridge, and all these robots had these machine gun turrets on top, and they're shooting everything up, and Tiger's like bouncing around, and he gets on top of one and rips off one of the machine guns off the top of the robot. And the line was, I don't normally approve of firearms, but in this case, I think we should do that. And I'm like, nah, that's not gonna play over here. So I said, let me do something. So he picks up the gun, and before he starts firing, I just said, say hello to my little friend! And that's the one they kept in the dub. And apparently, from what I hear, is the Japanese like the American dub so much that it's almost as popular as their original Japanese version over there. So, but that's, like I said, one actor in the studio, and there's an ADR beat, you get the rhythm of the line, because they'll back up to where your line happens, and to give you the rhythm, there'll be a little beat that goes, beep, beep, beep. Say hello to my little friend, and of course, the helmet's on, you don't have to worry about the lip flaps. And then if you don't do it right, if it doesn't fit in the flaps, you go back and beep, 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 gives, and then on the fourth beep, the imaginary fourth beep, that's when you start your line. But regular animation is sitting together and doing basically a radio show with a bunch of other actors. And you don't have to, any of that stuff, the animation is animated to the actor. The animation is not done first. So Jem you were doing ensemble, and then they animate to your voice, which is fun.
Which is so fun. Because you're like in a room, and I've said this so many times, Pizzazz is standing over there like flailing her arms and screaming at me, and then I'm like, giving it right back. And you get so much. You get to, it's just,
You have
acting.
something to play off of. You're actually doing it.
Normally you have to come up with everything yourself in front of a
It's
microphone.
not,
in front
and
of
it's
a piece
not,
of glass.
look at that green dot, pretend it's a space thing, it's gonna eat your ship, and then,
Right.
yeah.
It's way more fun. Yeah. We used to get in trouble. Wally was so great, but occasionally he would yell at everybody because
I
just
heard
get
that
out of
rumor.
control.
Yeah.
Well, it was Charlie Adler and Patricia Albright. Those were the two culprits.
Well, that's sometimes the issue is these people, these voice actors are so brilliant that they just sometimes it goes way off track, and it's hilariously funny.
And you sit back and enjoy the show,
Right.
But then you're like, oh.
But then you have
But then the director has to rein everybody back in, and sometimes it does get a little annoying when people are telling jokes. Or it's brilliant to watch Frank Welker work and do like Garfield, because he'll go off on all kinds of towns, and all of a sudden he'll be doing the voice of Bill Cosby. All of a sudden, where'd Bill Cosby come from? All of a sudden? And he'll go in and do, I'm Charlie, I'm Harry Reasoner on 60 Minutes. And he'll do all these crazy things. Of course, we all think it's hilarious. But the director's like, come on guys, come on, we gotta get back.
Time's money.
Yep.
You had one other question.
You had mentioned something regarding to it.
Yeah.
You just said that about sometimes they want that reaction out of you. You talk about Wally once again.
Yeah.
And during that interview that I did with him, he had mentioned that he had Louise Dorsey, who was one of the cast members on Judge. Yeah, Engelbert Humperdinck's daughter. So, and she, her leg got caught, her character's leg got caught in some machinery, and she was in pain.
Why don't I remember that episode?
Yeah, and they were pulling off an evil stunt, and her leg got caught, and the girls were leaving her behind, whatever, but she couldn't get that out, and Wally's like, I don't care if you have to pull your hair and yank it to get that reaction, you're gonna do what you have to do, and she did. In the studio, she was pulling her own hair to get that emotion and that, the scream, she was Her leg was stuck.
He told a story about Wonder Woman, who was the voice actress who was doing Wonder Woman, just didn't sound heroic enough. So he literally made her stand there with her hands on her hips and her legs, spread, and she do all her lines like that. And people don't realize that
Posture is important.
It's absolutely 100% important. You're acting in the studio. You're just not on camera. But you're acting. As the Riddler, I'm all hunched over, I'm doing things, spitting and spewing this stuff. You're acting. It's like you're on camera. There's just not a camera in the room. And you're still full on acting. And the posture is absolutely, and the physicality is just as important. You can't fake that stuff. Especially when you're doing video games, you're doing these punches and these leaps and these kicks, you're actually punching and leaping. Don't kick the mic stand. I found out the hard way. You've got to hear it in the room. You can't just go, because you have to really, you got to feel it.
The director's job too, which I was always so impressed with Wally, was continuity. So like he had to remember where you left off, like what level of crazy were you, or what tone where you were at, if you need to do a pickup and that type of thing. And I was always so impressed with that. It's like, your brain is insane. Like, how do you remember? But yeah.
That's awesome.
We have about 5 minutes. Any other questions?
Joe?
I actually have a question about this. I don't need to be mic'd up loud.
Okay, go
We're
for it.
taping it.
What? Yeah.
For the hashtag show.
Didn't you win something last night at the Ranger thing? Did you win the, sorry to interrupt you.
He won that beer. It's amazing. It's a great
Yeah, no, I was clean shaven yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic looking beer.
That's a new one.
Was it you? You're
No, I didn't win anything. No.
Go for it, Joe.
What you were talking about, just like acting in the room. One of the things that comes up, like with the 3D animated movies, a lot more in the recent years, is they're casting like big name actors, getting them to voice act, and then they are like face rigging and actually using those animations from the voice acting room in the film.
That's called mocap.
Yeah. Like how
Or performance capture.
Yeah, like how you have opinions on like how that changes how you would voice act if you know that what you actually do is going to be.
Well, you and I couldn't do that because we have facial hair.
Which?
Yeah, and you have to be clean shaven for that, basically, because they put dots all over your face, and it's not for me. You also have to wear these really tight blue leotard suits that are so tight that they can tell what religion you are. It's not my cup of tea. So I don't audition for any motion capture or performance capture or stuff, but I can understand why it's going in that direction. Andy Serkis, what we call him, he performed all that stuff. That was all him with dots all over his body. And they're doing some of that stuff now for video games in particular. I don't know if they're doing it for any animated films or animated, but sometimes Disney or whatever will bring a camera in like that one and just set it in the corner and just turn it on.
Yeah.
In the event that the animator sees something in your eye or something on your face that you did that they liked, something you did with your lip as you're performing the voice, so that they can animate in. So that's not a rarity at all. So sometimes there is a camera in the room, but hopefully they don't release that because sometimes we're slobbering, we have stuff coming out our nose, and
It's funny, Disney does that at my job.
pulling your hair.
Totally different.
But I don't know about you, but sometimes some of the more dramatic stuff I've had to do, I've actually physically cried when I've been doing some scene because I'm into it, and that's what the character is doing, So it's acting. It's just you don't have the camera crew there and the lights. So
Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome. Good question, Joe.
Yeah.
Look at that.
but if you're gonna do mocap, you gotta shave that beard.
Not going.
Don't.
No, this
It's
is part
fantastic.
of my job.
But Joe, I really do want to see you in the blue suit.
You're gonna see that either.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Please do me a favor and give it up for Sam and Wally. Two of the greatest. We're going to do a couple of closing statements from you guys. If you have them, but I just want for 1 second to say, you're going to have to indulge me. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You two are some of the most amazing people I've had a chance to work with, to sit on stage with, and as an aspiring voice actor, I feel like this is for me, this is great, and I love it. So thank you so much.
I heard him say that at every panel he's done, and I was.
You're a great MC.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We have a lot of. I have fun, and I think that's the whole point to this.
I think we should do a quick improv as Batman, Robin, and Catwoman.
Oh, I get to be Robin, right?
You get to be Robin. I'll be Batman. You be Robin. You be Catwoman.
Holy improv.
Well, Catwoman, I see you're back in Gotham City again. Robin, what's your feeling about her intentions?
Holy hormones. I don't know, Batman. But it looks like she's up to some diabolical plot.
Are you, Catwoman, up to some diabolical plot?
You know I am. I don't know too much about that.
She's got us there, Batman.
I'm on the spot.
I have curious stirrings in my utility belt. Robin, avert your eyes, you're underage.
Aw, gee whiz, Batman. Can't I have just this one trip down the bat pole?
I do like the one Ma Parker episode when Legs Parker, like Shelley Winter's daughter, yeah. He says, "Gosh, Batman, her legs look just like Catwoman's." And Adam kind of smiles. He goes,
Robin, you're growing up. But when crime fighting, it's best to keep your sights raised.
Gosh,
that was all sorts of brilliant. I'm sorry.
It's too bad, folks. That was one of the shows that got me started on anything. So and yeah, and if you ever need a replacement for Burt Ward in voice acting, just let me know. And I'll throw my hat in the ring, Batman.
Yeah, well, I have to talk to Burt about that. I think he's got that all locked up.
Burt's doing a pretty good
He
job.
still sounds exactly like
I know, and I don't want to plug Burt Ward too much, but why not? He's on Crisis of Infinite Earths this year on the CW. So if you watch Arrow and Supergirl, and he's back as Burt. He's back as Burt Ward. He's back as Dick Grayson. And that's cool. I hope he puts the tights on at 70 years old. He won't do that yet, but he's got a really cool character. So,
I doubt he'll put the tights on, but you can keep hoping.
There we go.
Whatever fantasies
I have
swimming around in
I
that
have
universe.
dreams and aspirations, but they don't really involve Burt Ward too much.
And they got Kevin playing Bruce Wayne in that.
Conroy's in the show too.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's great.
yeah, which is great. I just wish they would have had Adam do that, because it would have been great to see him in the Ascot one more time at the age of 85 or whatever as Bruce Wayne. That would be fantastic.
Well, since they got Burt, I imagine if he was still around, they would have.
Adam would have definitely been in that episode. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one more time for our friends here and for John.
Thanks for keeping pop culture alive with so much heart and love for these properties. It's just
Back into the ocean with you.
Thank you, everybody.